The Dodgers clinch. Judge and Goldschmidt assault the Triple Crown race. Concerns in Metland. And Wainwright and Molina become a record battery. Diamond Diehards is on! Joe Rizzo here bringing you baseball along with the dog, Jeff Healy. We are coming at you live on Facebook for the moment. And if you are catching this on your own, that's great too. And we want you to enjoy the show in any way, shape, or form that you do it. If it's video that is the way you like to go, you check it out on Facebook. We put the videos up on YouTube. We have a Facebook group and a Facebook page, if that's not confusing enough. And YouTube is a little bit easier, maybe. And if you like to just listen to the audio, then check us out everywhere you listen to podcasts, iTunes mostly, and a lot of you also listen on Spotify and some of the other apps. We are going to run down today on this 14th day of September. There were rule changes in baseball. I think a lot of people already covered that. We might get into that, by accident when we're talking about other things. But for the rundown, we're going to take a look at the playoffs. Is the number 2 seed better? We're going to break that down, AL and NL wise. The Dodgers clinched. Is this a must-win World Series for them? What about the concerns in Metville? Judge versus Maris, Judge versus the Triple Crown, Goldschmidt versus the Triple Crown, and Wainwright and Yadi or Molina set a really cool record. We are going to kick it off with Veteran of the Day, and for that we bring in the dog, Jeff Healy. Dog, what do you got today?
It's one close to home on this one here. Veteran of the Day is actually PFC Johnny Brenny, who is my cousin on mom's side, one of many cousins on mom's side. He was served in the Army, signed up, always wanted to join the Army, joined up back in the early 80s, and while training down at it was Fort Bliss, I believe. He actually got injured on a device called a slide for life, which unfortunately is actually a really cool thing, but actually it's pretty dangerous. It's like where you slide on a cable holding onto a pulley on it. So it's like really cool, but you are like way the hell up in the air. Fell down, unfortunately, hit his head and neck. Didn't think he was going to make it. Thanks to great work by doctors and the VA and so forth. He was in a coma for many months, managed to recover, partially paralyzed, but got to live out his days with his mom and his cousins or his brothers and sisters, my other cousins as well. But unfortunately, finally wound up passing last week, 40 years later at the age of 58. Always grew up, wanted to be an Army Ranger, and was kind of on his way. So his PFC just before he had a chance to go off to Airborne and Ranger School. So kind of a tough one, kind of a sad one. Had a great attitude towards life and lived it the best he could the whole way through. So sometimes we get real happy ones on Veteran of the Day, and sometimes we get a little sadder ones. And this one, unfortunately, is a little bit of a sad one. So again, our Veteran of the Day, PFC Johnny Brenny, cousin O the dog.
And Dog, of course, condolences from not just me, but from the family here, and I'm sure from our listeners. And I don't know if we have a nation. It's Die Hard Nation. There's been some losses for you this year, Dog, and hopefully doing this show and getting these few minutes here out of the way brings you a little relief to that. So,
Appreciate it, Riz.
a nice, and this is our little tribute, right? That we could do, Veteran of the Day. I don't know if it means much, but I guess to us it means a little bit. So, I'm glad that you were able to honor your late cousin that way, and thanks for the service to the family. All right. And now the reason
why we kick it up.
Yeah. And how do I follow that?
I'll say a tough one there, Riz.
Yeah, I know. Nothing like digging the hole for yourself there, Riz. Digging it a little deeper. Okay. So, Dog, if you're on, I didn't give you this link, but on the, I think it's like on the homepage of MLB.com. If you scroll down a little bit, they put up the postseason picture in there. So let me know when you get there, because I don't wanna
Gotcha.
handcuff you too much. Plus,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I need to edit this tweet to send it
Um,
out at the same time as we multitask, because that's what we do.
Understand that. Okay. And then story standings. Take it from here.
It's like a nice graphic that they made there, and it's got all. I mean, I think they've had it up. If the postseason started today, that's what it
Yeah.
looks like. Um,
Hmm.
so
Sorry, it's being a little
it's
pokey here right now.
it's right below the Ken Judge set an AL Yankees record of 62 homers, as we're off to a flying start. So there's like the first thing there. I guess if I think it's on the main page there.
Standings. I've got.
No, it's just scroll right down from the main page,
um,
and there's a graphic that says postseason picture. See, folks, this happens live.
Judge Milestone Homer. Judge homers twice. Go ahead, Homer.
No, it's not. It's
Oh man. Hold on. Let me put it on the big screen here.
hold on.
Maybe it's hiding. Let's see.
Here, how about this? I'll send it to you as we are off to a flying start. And I also uh nice that I forgot to hit record until we did the opening, so I might have to redo that one on tape.
Sweet.
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
I
Um,
have you
I don't know
first.
how I don't know where the video is gonna go, but
Oh, where? Oh, there we
yeah,
go.
there you go. So
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it didn't load, so it went
okay.
straight from the
All
top
right,
down.
so
So
we
there's
got
that.
this.
I got you
We
now.
got the
Sorry.
post.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. So immediately when you look at this thing, right?
Hmm.
If you're in the New York metropolitan area, or your interests are from the New York teams,
Hmm.
the first thing that you look at is that the Yankees and the Mets are both the second seed as of this moment on,
Hmm.
the start of action for both of those teams on September 14th, 2022.
Hmm.
And then, so naturally, when you're looking at this, you're like, okay, if you don't know, it's a bracket this year. So there's no reseeding. The top two division winners, respectively, get the first and second seed in their league. Right now,
Hmm.
the Dodgers in the National League and the Astros in the American League. And both of them are pretty safe at this point to get those number one seeds.
Yep.
The second seed Mets are in peril here, but the Braves have finally started to actually lose some games and help them out. And of course, we know the Yankees have free fallen since like the All Star break, pretty much. But they still have just come up off the mat and won a few games when they needed to, and they've kept their distance from the Rays and now the Jays. So they have the buys. Now the other teams that win the division become the third seed. And in the National League, that's the Cardinals. And in the American League, that's right now the Guardians, but that could also be the Twins or the White Sox. And those teams play the last wild card. So theoretically, the worst team to make it plays that team. And these series take place at the higher seeded team. It's a best of three, and there's no travel. So right now, if you're the Mets, you're looking at the number two seed if you can hold it, and your path becomes the winner of the Cardinals versus the Padres. And if you're the Dodgers as the number one seed, your path becomes the winner of the Braves Phillies series, the defending world champion Braves. So that's a pretty big difference, right? Like
I agree.
if you're the Dodgers, it's you got to figure that's kind of the harder road, because all due respect to the Phillies, the Braves or the Mets are going to end up as that fourth seed, and I don't think the Phillies are going to catch either one of them. And then the Phillies are going to have to play on the road against those division rivals and try to win 2 out of 3, and they're going to be a pretty significant underdog in that. So while nothing is a foregone conclusion, the path that you would rather take is the coveted number 2 seed in the National League. Dawg, do we agree?
100%.
Okay. Now let me lay out the American League for you, because the Yankees, as the number 2 seed, would play at the moment that we're doing this, the Guardians versus Mariners winner. Okay? And the Mariners actually have a better record. They're going to end up with a better record than whichever of those teams wins the AL Central. And it's still very much up for grabs. It could be the Twins. It could be the White Sox. It could be the Guardians. You know, I am not even going to try to venture a prediction. I know the Guardians probably have the best manager in Terry Francona, so maybe that gives them a little bit of an edge, but we'll see. The Astros, on the other hand, have to play the winner of the Rays-Jays, who I feel like are kind of equally dangerous. And, you know, those two teams are battling out to see which team would get to host it. Now, for the Jays to be able to host, I don't know if the Rays have any unvaccinated players, and you know, potentially if they do, they could be without some players, because I don't think Canada dropped their vaccination requirement for people coming into the country as of yet. I'm not sure of that, but I don't know that they have, and I don't know if the Rays have had any issues with that. I probably should know that. But let's face it. Who would you rather? Now, listen, I know the Mariners are dangerous, and they have all these young guns, and they have some, you know, some good frontline pitching, and of course, you know, Luis Castillo, who's become quickly like a Yankee killer somehow when they didn't go out and acquire him. But let's face it, if you're the Yankees, you just, I know they've played well against the Rays this year, but the Rays have been, you know, one of their poisons. The Astros have been the other. But if you could have the Rays or the Jays knock off the Astros for you,
So much the better.
yeah, I mean, potentially they could, right? Like
Yep.
those are some good potential matchups right there. And whoever gets through that series is going to be pretty beaten up for the ALCS if the Yankees could get through their series. And the Yankees definitely will match up pretty well against whichever of those teams come out of the AL Central. And can you imagine if it's the Twins? Like, it would just can't do anything. You know, they just get paralyzed
Impossible.
when they
Beat
see
the
the
Yanks.
Yankee
Yep.
uniforms. I mean, maybe that check will come due. But Doug, are we clear? The number 2 seed in both leagues is a way better option because of
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
bracketing. Because of the bracketing, right?
Yeah, it's sort of funny, right? They're trying to punish the wild cards. It seemed like from the way they were setting it up with the brackets and so forth. And ironically, it has kind of come out that you're pretty much sort of punishing you want to punish the 1 seed, right? Instead of like
Right.
re-racking all that sort of stuff. So it is sort of funny. You've had the law of unintended consequences is kind of biting on that, because you almost always like that third wild card, right? Third division winner is almost always like fairly weak, right? Just like I haven't looked at the numbers, just kind of intuitively over time, like it always sort of seems like one division is just way down and just someone's barely over 500 and they win it and they get through. And then again, you look at this, right? The beasts of the East for both the NL and the AL are so much tougher. That again, all that winds up being in the 1 bracket, and then the 2 bracket, you pretty much have a much easier road.
So pretty much the way that this shook down last year was that the 107 win Giants had to play the 106 win Dodgers in the NL Division Series, and they lost at the end of Game 7. You know, despite the fact that there's just no way the Giants and the Dodgers, 2 historically good teams in terms of regular season wins and being in the same division, there's just no way that they should have played each other.
Yeah.
So, Dawg, my proposed solution, because that's what we do here, we propose solutions.
Are we leaping ahead in the time machine to next
Yeah,
to the winter meetings. We're going to solve it, right?
sure,
It's not
sure.
on the agenda yet.
Yeah, it's not on the agenda, but it will be.
We're writing the agenda.
Look, brackets are great for the NCAA basketball tournament. Short of that, it's not really a great way to set up your playoffs. And the NHL has tried to do the same thing, and the problem that they did was they took the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference and they made their playoffs divisionally again, which is what they used to do a long time ago. So now you have to play, through the division with one sort of like weird exception, like there's two wild cards. It's the top three from each division, and then the next two teams. So one team potentially could play out of their division in a playoffs. You know what? It just doesn't make too much sense. The idea is that they want rivalries to happen, but the other idea is that everybody wants their bracket game to take off. And let's face that the bracket game is like nobody's doing a serious bracket for this stuff. They're just not. That's just not happening. Like for basketball in college, you do it, and for the rest of the stuff, just all they have to do, Dawg, they can keep the same structure that they have, right? All they have to do is reseed for the second round.
100%.
And then the third round, you don't have to worry about it, obviously, because then it's whichever's,
whoever's left.
Yeah, whoever's left. So if you did that, right, you would have to make one sort of big decision. And, right now, if you're looking at that layout, what you want to really look at is the Cardinals and the Braves, right? And you want to look at the Guardians and the Jays at the moment in the AL. And what you have to decide then, Dawg, is when you reseed, does the 3 seed of the third division winner get superseded then by the record?
Yes, I would say I actually do like giving a reward for the division winner, even though you're the weakest division. I do think you should get the benefit on that. So that's
Okay.
that's the one thing I would start hanging on. But I would say that goes away after your first round
Okay.
scenario.
Now, fair enough. I don't know that there's a perfectly right or a perfectly wrong answer here, but I'm going to inject something else into the conversation, and we sort of teased it at the beginning that we may or may not talk about some of the rules changes for next year. One of the rules changes, you could call it that, is that there's going to be a completely balanced schedule in terms of every major league team is playing every other major league team
Which
next
is awful.
season, and there's a de-emphasis on the games within your division. So what that does is that significantly evens out the pool for teams that are playing in a more difficult division. Their record is likely to increase, you would figure, and for
Yeah.
teams that are playing in a lesser division, that division winner might not even have as good of a record going forward. So with the new schedule, Dawg, does
hmm
it make more sense to drop that distinction of division winner for the next round and just go to record?
Nah, I still like keeping the division in it. I think if you continue down that road and you just go by record, then you're almost at the stage of going back to pre-divisional and just going and having the first division, second division teams like he always talks about on baseball, and you just go to a conference, right? And basically you go one through I don't know, 1 through 6, or you could expand it to 1 to 8 even for a conference and just run it that way. Um, Obviously league for this conference, right? But for AL and NL, and just ditch the division entirely. But I don't think anybody wants that, right? I mean, I like the East Division. I think Yankee fans would say the same. I think most division folks would sort of say the same. And I think that's the worry when you start to get more and more with the wild cards, and more you're setting up just to kind of get in the game, and then it winds up becoming a second season in the postseason. And I think it's good for the excitement, but I do think you want to keep the excitement of going for division, and you should get some sort of reward for winning the division as well.
Okay. I will like to take us through the exercise then of saying if the higher seeds win, that in both cases you would have the same matchups in this case. But if you did do the reseeding, then in that case you would have different matchups. So the actual, empirical example is if the Cardinals beat the Padres, if that's the matchup,
Mhm.
they would hold on to the third seed and they would play the second seeded Mets if the Mets hold on to that. And if the Braves at the four seed beat the Phillies, they would be the Dodgers opponent regardless in either scenario if that happened.
Mhm.
However, let's look at the American League where it plays out much differently. If the Guardians or whoever is in that spot win, they would advance to play the Yankees as the third seed versus the second seed, and that would leave the Tampa Bay Toronto winner to play the Astros. But if you were in a reseeding situation, the matchup would change. I mean, regardless of if you're in a reseeding situation or if you dropped the
Yep, I'm tracking.
division winner distinction
Mhm.
and you went by record, that would actually switch the matchup there. And I think in the National League, the Braves actually do have a better record than the Cardinals, so it would
Thank you.
switch it there. It would switch it there as well. That the Braves would then move in to play the Mets, and the Dodgers would play the Cardinals. Now, that's why I kind of feel like I like that better.
Yeah, I agree.
Um, so so so
I
now
think
did I
if I
flip
say,
you? Did I flip you?
oh no, well, I'm still with the reseeding.
No, but it's not the reseeding. It's the reseeding with the distinction of the division winner distinction no longer carries the seed. So now it's just the next four teams, whichever four teams are in the NLDS and the ALDS respectively, are now seeded based on their regular season record.
But then let me just think for like the AL. Then it's what I don't know the records off the top, but is effectively like the Guardians and the Mariners would flip seeds. Essentially, they would be
No, it wouldn't matter
The
because
Guardians would now be the six
no, 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 no. It
just by
would hold.
record.
It would hold for the first round. It just wouldn't hold for further rounds. So for the wild card, it makes sense, I believe, to keep that and
Okay.
give the division winner the advantage. But to
Mhm.
me, once you get to the ALDS, then that I think it's
Yeah.
fair.
The lowest, the highest team, the highest seed should play the worst record. I agree with that.
The highest
So the
seed should play the
reseeding.
worst record,
Yeah.
regardless of if the worst record
Correct.
won the division.
Yeah. The division hookup only goes for the first round.
Okay, so you
Yeah. So
actually agree.
I think we're the same on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounded like you were the opposite on that,
No,
just so you know.
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think that was your nope. I think
All
you're
right.
wrong.
All right, baseball. All right, baseball, we
Put
fixed
the
it.
tape. Put the tape.
That segment, Dog, brought to you by Gatto Acupuncture and Wellness in Glen Rock, New Jersey. Book online at gattoacu.com, GATTOACU.com, or call 551-212-3845. Dr. Melissa will hook you up. She helped me with my left shoulder a couple of weeks ago. Still feeling pretty good. Maybe I'll be back in there again sometime soon. It's really great the work they do. Gatto Acupuncture and Wellness in Glen Rock, New Jersey. Book online once again at gattoacu.com or call 551-212-3845. Uh, we're giving a lot of like the foregone conclusion stuff here, and that's the Dodgers. Doug, I don't know how they have compiled such an incredible record, and like if you just look at, at who their pitchers are, it's I mean, you know, remarkable.
The
Like
the stars have definitely kind of come down with injury and stuff throughout the year, right? And the back of the pen. I mean, somehow they have pulled it off for the last couple, but I mean, Jansen's has been no good, and the back end of their pen right now is also suspect to me. But just between the hitting and enough of the starting pitching, they've just been able to run away on folks. But
By the way, you said Jansen, but you meant Kimbrel. I saw your brain
no, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
scrambling because Jansen just, thankfully for the Met fans, blew
Well, I'm
one in
sorry.
Oakland
I
the
was
other
talking about
day.
last year.
Oh,
Yeah. Last. I'm saying that for the last couple of years,
oh,
the
oh, oh.
Dodgers have had. Yeah. See, yeah. I know. Yeah, I know. Jansen went down to the Braves and blew it for me. Thank you, Kenley. But yeah, it's like sort of weird, right? They've still been able to kind of drive by, despite the fact like um, their closer has not been there. That's the one sort of piece that's been missing for the Dodgers. And like I said, they've been able to get by it. But yeah, we're gonna see if it pulls them there. And again, like the injuries, a little bit like last year, right? That some of their frontline guys just not being able to come back for for the stretch run here makes them brings them much closer and closer down to earth.
So at the time we're doing this, it's September 14th, and they're 98 and 43. They're a 695 team. They've clinched the division. The second place team in the NL West is the Padres. They're 20 and a half out, but the Padres are holding down a wild card. So that means they're 20 and a half games in baseball ahead of another playoff team, which is, a function, I suppose, of 2022, right? The Padres are a solid outfit. But, Dog, the thing to me that I look at is the pitchers who are not there for the Dodgers. And what did Walker Buehler make? 11 starts this year, and you've subtracted from that team Walker Buehler. From let's say the past previous years, Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer,
Scherzer.
and Trevor Bauer, who made some news earlier in the day, by the way. And now Tony Gonsolin's hurt, and who knows how long he's going to be out. He was supposed to already be back. They could, I mean, I'm sure they're being just really cautious with him. Even, and Clayton Kershaw's been on the same sort of workload that he's been on for the past few full seasons. Um, but listen, when it comes down to a game that they need to win, it's very, very, very much Julio Urias, and then after that, I mean, like Tyler Anderson has kind of come sort of out of nowhere, right? Like he's been a guy that's, he's a name like you're like, oh yeah, wait, is that the same guy? Like he's been around for kind of ever, right? Like, and what is he like 15 and 3 or something now? But the numbers themselves are, like when you start to break them down and you dig deeper, you're like, okay,
It's
he's
good.
he's good,
Yeah.
but like in a playoff type situation, I feel like I kind of want to take my chances. Um, like how are they just that good? I don't know. I like Dog. I can't. I just like I can't figure it out. Um, Urias is phenomenal. 16 and 7, 230 ERA, and all the other numbers match up. But even he, Dog, does not get a strikeout per inning. He's got 144 Ks and 152 and two thirds, which is sort of like a surprise in 2022. Tyler Anderson, 15 and 3, 119 Ks in 161 and two thirds innings. And again, their WHIP and their batting average against and all that stuff is wonderful. Tony Gonsolin was having, a season for the ages, 16 and 1 with a 2.10 ERA. And even Tony Gonsolin, 116 strikeouts and 128 and a third innings. Dog, the WHIP 086 and the batting average against 169. Those are like closer numbers.
Yeah.
And then you get down to Kershaw, Dog. He's made 18 starts and he's back in there now, 8 and 3, and he is the first Dodger. Is the only Dodger with 100 innings that has more than a K per inning, and he's at 107 over 103 and a third innings. And then you're into like Dog Andrew Haney, um, who just washed out of the Angels. he was literally the butt of jokes last year when he was the Yankees deadline acquisition. Everyone was like, "Who is this guy? He's terrible." And he's actually been pretty good. He's got 84 Ks in 57 innings over 12 starts, so he's your strikeout guy. But even his peripheral numbers look pretty good. And the other guy that's kind of in the mix here is Dustin May, and he's only made 4 starts, and coming back from the this surgery here in the middle of late in the second half of the middle of the season. So this team's about offense, and being about offense typically, Dog, not a good way to not a good way to like approach your playoff aspirations, right?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, normally they always say, right, good pitching beats good hitting, and they've typically have gotten the strong starting, but like you point out, I mean, it's not quite the same. That has been in the past, and again, it looks like they just get out to a really really hot start, and we'll see. It's starting to slow down a little bit for them with the injuries, and again, that the pen and everything becomes far more important in the playoffs, and we're gonna have to see. They're if you can get into the pen, these other teams, you can feel like you got a decent shot.
Is it
You
a
just
must
have to keep
win?
it close until then. hmm
Is it a must win World Series?
Um, yeah, you might. Yeah, I think you're right. I think I would call it that, right? I mean, just given the resurgence of other teams, I'm looking no further than the Padres, right, in their own division. That yeah, the pressure's starting to get on, and like their top guys are getting a little long in the tooth, right? So I mean, if you're looking down, there's a lot of guys who are going to be rotating down the next couple of years, and unless they're able to, they always have a good organization. They're always going to be competitive, right? But um, that may not be good enough compared to the competition they're going to be facing going forward.
I just like I keep Dog. I've looked at it so
I mean, the
many times.
Padres on the way out, the Braves, the Braves look like they could be, a dynasty team. Mets maybe, we'll see on that. I think they'll be they're kind of like they're trying to be the Dodgers of the East, right? And they're kind of similar like that too. That they get some older guys too that they're trying to kind of squeak in and get it here, and they may have to pull back for a year or two and wait for some of the younger guys to come along. Um, but yeah, there's some other organizations out there that are just going to continue to be tough and tough, and it's difficult to get to that top level these many times, and eventually you just don't get those opportunities.
Dog, I just pour over this all the time because I look at it and I like I understand why they're good and I understand why they're in first place. I just can't. It's just crazy to me that they're that far over. Their run differentials like plus 302, which is absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, that's absurd for an entire season, and they still have like 22 games left. I mean, that's like, um, so the thing that I figure out, as best as I can figure it, is you just have a very consistent, you know, 7 guys that are kind of just always in there, and there's some variation, but they're regular players, like aside from Freddie Freeman, are not having like exactly the best years of their career either, but they're just all very very consistent and they seem to work together pretty well. So you have Freeman at first base and he's having a banner first year over there for the Dodgers. Mookie Betts has been a little down in the average in the on base, but he has 34 home runs. And Trey Turner is kind of like his usual self again, but his on base is only 350. His average is 305 in a year where batting average is really hard to come by. I'd rather have my 350 on base come mostly from batting average any day of the week.
Yep.
I'll give up, 20 points of on base percentage if I have 20 points of average moving it up. So I'll take that. Will Smith, is very good offensively as a catcher and kind of gives them something that a lot of teams don't have. Justin Turner, he's like your stalwart at third base. And they've had to mix and match here where they've had a DH, and Max Muncy had to move off of first, so sometimes you see him at second, sometimes you see him at third, sometimes he's a DH wherever, and Cody Bellinger in center. So you have your regulars there, and then their bit players have done pretty well, like Trace Thompson, whose father is Michael Thompson, who was on the Lakers championship teams, and whose brother is Splash brother Klay Thompson. I don't know if people knew that.
I don't know.
And they got him for a bag of balls from the Cubs, and he's been good coming off the bench. So, but this is a team, Dog, that in a playoff game could put Max Muncy, Cody Bellinger, and Joey Gallo all batting together. And Muncy and Bellinger are both hitting 201, and Gallo's below 180. He's kind of come back to earth since a pretty
Below
good start.
below the Gallo line, as Shigon puts it.
Yeah.
Little shout out, Jeff Wright.
Um, so
Though he was a rocket when he first got there. It's kind of like Vogelback.
yeah.
When
So
we
uh,
crushed
so
it.
so I think it's the regularity, and I think it's the generally speaking, when you have the two Turners, Will Smith, Betts, and Freeman, what you do have, Dog, is uh, for today, you have all guys that hit for a better average, way above batting average, higher than the league average, which is what, like 39,
Something
243.
like that, yeah.
Freeman 329, Betts 275. Well, 275 doesn't really look that great, except when you compare it to what the league average is, right?
Yeah.
305, 259 for Will Smith, 276 for Justin Turner. And all the on base percentages are, Freeman's at 402, so he's a step above. Betts 348, Trey Turner 350, Will Smith 348, Justin Turner 349. So they go like five deep right there, and they churn it, and
Yeah.
pitchers aren't used to having to wear out, lineups like that, and they're just so consistent.
Yeah.
They're so consistent, and then the people
And
they
you
put
and you get
below
all the
them.
play and you got all the playoff experience, right? So that's the positive for them
Yeah.
versus other guys, right? I mean, these guys have all done it, and they've come up big. Like each of these guys have had big series and big opportunities and big spots. So, you got to give them that credit too.
So you say must win World Series. I mean, look, I don't see them tearing it apart if they don't win, because that's just like what they have is just too good. But Dog, I do feel
Getting
like
old,
when you
getting old
when
though.
yeah, but they're not too old. I mean, the window's definitely still pretty open, and look, they're doing it without their named pitchers being there. Like if they got by one year without Walker Bueller, they could get by the next, and then I guess he's a free agent after next season, so we'll see what happens there. But I don't know. At once I feel like they're very susceptible, and I feel like the team that matches up best with them is the Mets. And I think that the worst matchup for the Braves is the Dodgers. So I feel like if there's a must anything, it's that the Mets must win the division,
Yes.
because then all the matchups fall their way. Like if the Braves slug it out with the Dodgers, whoever's coming out of that series, if you get through there and you have DeGrom and Scherzer ready at the front of your rotation for the next series, it's you're gonna win in five. Like you're gonna have a great chance, a really great chance. So on the other hand, I feel like when you're having an historic season the way the Dodgers are, um, there's a lot to lose if you don't win at all. And I go back to the 2001 Mariners. They set the regular season wins record, and they got dismissed in Yankee Stadium, and they literally have not made the playoffs since. Now that probably is going to change in a few weeks, but it could do that to a franchise if you you know are summiting that mountain at great speed and with alacrity, and all of a sudden you don't make it to the top. eh, You know, sometimes it makes it harder to get back to the top.
Yeah. It's funny. It kind of reminds me a little bit of the '90s Braves, right? I mean, where you just you kept going down. the Braves just kept running into a great Yankee team, right? So that's a little bit of a different sort of situation, and certainly not the same sort of situation as the 0-1 Mariners. And again, I think the depth of the Dodge organization is going to keep it that they're going to continue to be competitive, but the flip side is that it's such a tough division for them, right? That maybe the Giants have had a little bit of an off year, but again, that feels like another organization that could jump back up, and the Padres again, if they can get out of their own way. It seemed like, I don't know, maybe we're expecting too much out of these guys and stuff, but it continually feels like this is going to be the time for these guys to really get it done. But yeah, if they don't get it, it's more a question of just the competition that they're running into is just going to be harder and harder for them to try and maintain the top there.
Dawg, Dodgers segment brought to you by the Mascolo Group, serving all of your real estate needs in the northern and Pascack Valley areas of New Jersey. And in fact, Dawg, all of northern New Jersey. Go to GaryMascolo.com. Spell it just like it sounds, but I'll spell it for you anyway. GaryMascolo.com, or call 201-615-3665. The Mascolo Group Realtors can get you set up in this area of North Jersey, or if you're looking to get out, if you're looking to get in, if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to rent, whichever side of it you're on, Mascolo Group can and will take care of you like none other. Dawg,
doing a little shout outs to the advertisers in the Facebook group.
Oh, that is good. That is good. Mark me.
Work from home, make it a good home. Call Mascolo.
Yeah. By the way, let's take a moment to if you're not watching the video, I have the Giant hat on. The not the baseball San Francisco Giants, the New York Football Giants, the first place.
Don't often get to say that anymore.
Yeah. The Giants have more wins than the Dallas Cowboys, Arizona Cardinals, Los Angeles Rams, and Cincinnati Bengals combined. Think about that. Who would have thought that?
That's like every team Boomers are rooted for.
Yeah, at least this week. So we talked about the Mets must win the second seed and take the NL East. How big are the concerns in Flushing?
It's pretty big. Their bats, they are afraid. It's no good. They're just not hitting right now. And it's funny. They're all or none right now, which good teams will run into that occasionally, right? Where you get it all one night and then you can't get a hit the next night. And they've just been inconsistent with that. I mean, historically they've always had trouble with second division teams. Right? So like if you're ever a Met fan and everyone talking up like, oh, what an easy schedule they have in September, that's code for it. This is they're going to want to blow it. And no further than coming out and overachieving versus the Dodgers and then just spitting a bit on the next couple. Yeah, it's a legit worry, and there's just not a lot to play with. And I mean, coming into it, you're praying the Mets will be up 4 with 3 to go before going down to Atlanta. And if you're a Met fan, you want no part of those last 3 games meaning something. And unfortunately, it's pretty darn likely at this point that that's going to mean something.
I got a couple of things of good news for you.
Okay.
So as we speak, literally in this moment, it's 6:14 p.m. Eastern Time on September 14th, 2022. As we're doing this, and if you're with us live, you know that, but most of you are not catching it live. At this moment, in the top of the 8th inning in San Fran, the Giants are holding a 4-1 lead over the Braves. Now, if that result holds, that guarantees the Mets being in first place for another day, as at this exact moment, with neither the Braves game being final nor the Met game being final, which hasn't started yet, the Mets hold a half-game lead, and they will play later on with David Peterson trying to get a win against the Cubs, who have Drew Smyly on the hill in a battle of lefties. And the bad news for the Mets is that Smiley's been pretty good, actually, here in the second half of the season. But nevertheless, The other piece of good news, Dog. The other piece of good news is the Mets hold at the moment a 9-7 record against the Braves for the season. So, if they win one more of those games between the teams, they hold
You're
the tiebreaker.
completely jinxing them down here.
They hold the tiebreaker if they just win one of those games in that final series. So that sort of changes your thinking maybe a little bit potentially. Whereas if the Mets go into that series with a 2-game lead, they only have to win one game. If they go in with a 3-game lead, then they only have to win one game. So it's the difference between 3 and 2 is really no difference.
Gotcha.
But
That's a
it's
fair point. That's an interesting wrinkle.
Right?
Yeah.
So the math works out a little differently, but the end result is the same. So that to me, that's kind of a big.
So basically, you try and go DeGrom Scherzer the first 2 games and pray to God one of them wins it.
I don't know. Or do you do the opposite? Do you try to get the win?
That's what I mean. Try and get the win in as early in this series as you can.
Oh yeah, that's
so
right.
So if DeGrom pulls it off, then all of a sudden you rest Scherzer or something like that. Let him be the playoff starter or whatnot. But
or
it's the Mets. We probably got a show too before we can really start getting down to that sort of tactics. And so
or if you go like Bassett, Carrasco, and you get one of the wins, if they clinch it, then you only have to use one of DeGrom or Scherzer, because then the risk is if they don't win, now all of a sudden you're stuck in the wild card, and you don't have DeGrom or Scherzer. If you throw both of them, you'll only have one of them.
Yeah, which is why I would say you throw them early in the series, so you have a chance of getting them back for at least part of the wild card.
No, Dog. I'm going to explain what you do.
How about we start kidding? We don't worry about this.
Yeah, well, that would be
nice.
Too. That would be just walk in with a 4-game lead, like you said.
That would be the nice way.
The other thing to do, Dog, is
buy a Phillies hat. I'm going to become a Phillies fan pretty soon.
No, you deploy the plan that you and I talked about over the past couple of years. You make them into 3 or 4 inning relievers. So if you get the lead in one of those games, you send DeGrom out there for like the 5th inning when you're up 2-0, and you send DeGrom out in the 5th inning of the Friday night game, and you let him take it home, and then he's ready. Then you've clinched it, and he gets the rest anyway, and you're set up. And if he blows it or you lose or whatever and you have to play in the wild card, he's still ready. And then the next day you do it with Scherzer, who, he didn't have such great results relieving, but at least we know he could do it. So that's another way to do it, right? Like you only deploy those guys if you get the lead. And if they close it out, you earned the extra days off, so you set your rotation. And if not, then, you're still risking less because both guys would be ready to start in a wild card series in that case. With the Wednesday, it would the last game would be on a Wednesday, so those games will be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and we were saying Friday, but it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and the wild card I think starts on the Friday, so you would if they were pitching in relief Monday and in relief Tuesday, they'd be ready for Friday and Saturday. So I don't know. That's one way to do it and think about it.
I don't know.
But
that would last at the game 1 when Taijuan Walker gave up 5 runs in 2 innings. I'd be throwing stuff around and be like, why the hell isn't DeGrom starting?
I don't know. Well, that's another thing. You gotta look at which of those starters would go into the pen, and I feel like Walker would probably be one of the ones that would go in the pen, and that Bassett and Carrasco would be guys that you would hold more for starting. But you know what? David Peterson is an interesting guy because he seems to be just much better as a starter than he is as a reliever. And, guys like Bassett, I feel like Bassett could come out of the pen with his stuff. I feel like Walker could come out of the pen with his stuff. Carrasco, I don't like him as much out of the pen.
Yeah.
But maybe Peterson grabs one of those spots, and you could start deploying Bassett to help you get through, those middle chunks.
Yeah.
You bust him out there, and he can give you like three really good innings. One time through the
Yeah.
lineup, we've seen
And
him
a
just
total
dominate.
total switch up from DeGrom and Scherzer and those guys, right?
Yeah, both guys
The
are like
burners,
even
right? So all of a
yeah,
sudden you must say you throw Bassett in, you got everyone's geared up for like the smoke, and all of a sudden Bassett gives you another look. So
yeah, and Walker's,
it's true.
he's pretty versatile too. And if Walker's in the pen, he could go down to like two pitches and be really, really effective. He doesn't even have to, go through the rest of his arsenal if he doesn't have it, which I think is the thing that sometimes gets him,
Yeah,
into trouble when he's got to go to his, his third pitch or his fourth pitch. When he's on his two pitches, he
pretty good.
could he could be dominant. And so we'll see how it all pans out. I mean, that Buck Showalter will totally put all of this stuff on the table.
Yeah,
Like you might be like, well, they're not really gonna do that, whatever. But Buck will do
Buck
anything.
might. Yeah,
Buck will
the
do anything.
yeah the biggest thing is though the Mets, they just got to hit, right? I mean, right now it's really turned into McNeil's hitting, Lindor's hitting a little bit. Alonso's up and down. They're dying with that Marte, who was smoking hot for a while. Escobar's finally cooled off for him a little bit. Kind of come back down to off the boil again. So they've got the talent there. They just need to get the consistency and start manufacturing stuff again. They seem to be kind of like going all or none and everything off the home run right now, and they're just not getting sort of like the keep the chain moving that they were for most of the year.
I feel like they have enough left in the tank, and I think that as good as the Braves are, it's just really hard to play that good for that long. And especially, I know you're saying, the Mets, they struggle when they play against these second division teams, but, eventually the cream's going to rise, and there's just going to be too many of those matchups where, DeGrom and some of the other guys, and more importantly, your hitters are going to be against pitchers who don't have as much on the line, who maybe are just trying to fix stuff for the end of the year or try to get themselves jobs for next year. And that it doesn't take much for a team like the Mets to kind of just explode and kill some of those middle inning relievers who are trying to get a job somewhere for next year. Alonso's going to eat those guys for lunch. McNeil's going to smack balls all over the yard. Lindor, we've seen what he could do, feasting on good pitching, let alone not good pitching.
Yeah,
So I think they still just have enough, and like the Yankees, they gave themselves a lot of rope, and they've relinquished most of it. But they had a chance to just fold the tents right there, and they snagged a win here, and got a little break there. I mean, it sounds like they got a break, but the Braves have won like 8 in a row, and then okay, they lost in Oakland a couple of times. I mean, it happens. It's baseball. The Yankees went out there and they lost a couple in Oakland too. So Mets segment. Let's see who's getting. Well, I think it's Big Ed's Car Wash brought us the Mets segment. Although I think that's all we have, all Yankee fans as the sponsors. Big Ed's Car Wash, dog. If you are in the Bergen and Passaic County areas of New Jersey, which, as the analytics tell us, most of you are, and your ride is dirty, it's some of these nice days. I'm looking out the window over here. It's a beautiful day. September, October, we have many, many beautiful days here. You don't want to ride around in a dirty vehicle, and that means you need to go to Big Ed's Car Wash at 17-16 River Road in Fair Lawn. And tell them Diamond Diehards sent you. Big Ed's Car Wash, Fair Lawn, New Jersey. And Dawg knows, when I take the cars there, it's not just that they come out especially clean outside and inside. They stay cleaner longer, and I don't know how Ed does that, but he does it clean and green, and he's got a big tunnel. You got to see it to believe it. Trust me.
there you go.
Doug, the other shout out, I started mentioning this before, where I'm wearing the Giants, the New York Football Giants hat. Little shout out to the L7's baseball on the shirt tonight.
Very sharp. I saw that. Looking
It's
good.
the Martineaus, Coach Chad, first baseman slash pitcher Lillian Martineau. That's a good follow. Go follow Lily on Twitter, Lillian underscore Martineau. And you could do, and as for our advertisers, you could always find the links and stuff in the description. It's always in there every single time. So if you're trying to remember, you're like, oh, there was something about a car wash, or there was, I got to go buy a thing, a house. Yeah, let me go. Let me go check the description.
There
So
you go.
you could always find them there. All right, dog. Now let's talk triple crowns. How do you say it?
Triple crowns, I believe.
Um, so most of the discussion for the Triple Crown has been, will Paul Goldschmidt have a real shot at it for the Cardinals? Because he's very close in home runs, he's very close in RBI, and he's pretty close in batting average. So after the Tuesday night games where the Yankees beat the Red Sox and Aaron Judge went 3 for 4, I looked and I said, wow, Aaron Judge is up to 310. Look at that. Let me go check the American League batting average leaders. And I found out, dog, and I tweeted it. And now, since that tweet, I didn't see a lot of action on that tweet, but I've seen a lot of others start tweeting about it as well. So I feel like word gets around. And I heard a lot of, nobody's talking about Aaron Judge for the Triple Crown. Well, Aaron Judge is 9 thousandths of a point. So in batting average terms, we call it 9 points from leading the American League in batting average. Luis Arias from the Twins came in, let's say, after Tuesday's action, 319. Xander Bogaerts, 318. And it was 312 for somebody else, Jose Abreu. So I don't even have those notes up. I just remembered it because I tweeted it. And Goldschmidt, on the other hand, is not leading the National League in any of the Triple Crown categories, but he's like 2 homers shy, a couple of ribbies shy, and he's 8 points behind the league. He has a higher average. Like if he was in the American League, he'd be leading the league in hitting because he's hitting 322. But in the National League, he's like
He's
8
third.
points.
Yeah.
He's 8 points behind. So Judge is one less batting average point behind, but he's got home runs wrapped up and almost certainly has RBIs wrapped up because he's 20 home runs ahead and he's 14 RBI ahead with 20 something games to go, 22 games to go, thereabouts. So Judge is like way. I would say he's way closer to having a shot at the Triple Crown, and I think there's a realistic shot that both guys could actually get it. Now, Judge's season has just been epic because, dog, when you start to factor in the batting average, like the hated stat now, right? Like all the nerds don't like us to talk about batting average, and you and I are going to talk about it because as proud members of Shigon Nation, hashtag Shigon on Twitter, we value it a lot because we see the value in it, and we don't dismiss the value in batting average because there are other analytics that also have value, right? It doesn't, to me, there's a lot of things that have value, but batting average is still one that does, especially when you are talking about power hitters. Power hitters who hit for a high batting average are those are the unicorns these days, right? Like
Yeah.
so trying to place Judge's season in historical perspective. I did hear a caller on Mad Dog Russo earlier that was saying like, this is maybe the greatest, offensive season in baseball history. And nobody loves Aaron Judge more than me. I have like 2 different Judge shirts, but okay, maybe not. I love Aaron Judge. I'm a fan. Okay. This does not like even approach some of the greatest seasons in baseball history.
Oh, maybe
Okay.
non-juiced. non-juices within the discussion.
Okay,
Some of the Bonds ones on there, it's tough.
not non-ruthed might be a better way to put it. Because the thing is, like, I guess there's one way where you could equate it. Because, like, you look at Babe Ruth's, well, you're not going to look at it, but I will. Michele Mascolo has checked in about Aaron Judge and Triple Crown. No denying it. Well, I'm the
Nice.
one that's talking about it. Babe Ruth, okay? Babe Ruth, the incomparable Babe Ruth. Yes, I'm talking to you, Shohei Ohtani. So, in the year that Babe Ruth hit 59 home runs, right? He did it in 152 games, first of all, and in a 154 game season. He drove in 168 runs, so Judge is not going to come near that. He hit 378. Now, what you can do is you have these stats like OPS plus to make it sort of relative, but like with the batting and his on base was 512, down from 532 the year before when he hit 376. And his OPS was 1.359. Again, down 0.20 from from the previous year, right? So, like those seasons in 1920 and 21, like he didn't, he hit 54 in 20 and he had 59 home runs in 21. And then, of course, the magical season where he got to 60 in 1927. That year, he only hit 356, 486 on base, 1258 slugging. So, OPS, sorry, on base plus slugging. So, when you start to put this stuff in perspective, really the only way you could even think of grouping this type of season in with Ruth or some of those from that era, especially, is if you look at like his batting average against what the league batting average was. And
Yep.
then it becomes more impressive because this is an era where, like we said earlier in the show, batting averages are just so low right now. I mean, so for the guy to hit 310, he's hitting way above what the league batting average is.
Yeah. But
So
then look at the power at Root though versus the league average back then, right?
right,
I
that's
mean,
where
2021 is like you're like a 2x.
yeah, I mean
So
that's absurd. Like he was leading, he but to Judge's credit, the other thing is, nobody since Ruth has won a home run title. Actually, nobody. It's not just since Ruth. It's just other than Ruth has won a home run title by more than 20 or more home runs, and I think he did it twice, or in two separate seasons. So that part is pretty amazing. So overall history, if you stacked up these numbers in the greatest offensive seasons ever, he certainly would be up there for the home runs. He certainly would be up there if you take out the kind of known or assumed juicers, right? And you add a little extra because he's a top flight defensive player, and he's also played a significant number of games in center field this year, which is a core position. So historically overall, yes. I mean, this is what we're seeing is unbelievable. And on top of it, if it could end up with a triple crown, I mean, the Yankee fan is looking at this season for the most part as like we got to win it, because of the amazing start that they were off to. Like we got to win it, and if we don't win it, Boone sucks, and fire everybody and get Cashman out of there, and how come you didn't trade for Castillo? Frankie Montas stinks, and you traded Jordan Montgomery and blah blah blah. By the way, he got lit up last night.
Whitey Ford.
Yeah, he got lit up last night. Like it, but I feel like this slide has been so long, and they've picked it up here. They got up off the deck when they needed to, and they didn't necessarily throw haymakers back. Well, they actually did. They threw a couple of haymakers back at the Rays.
Yeah,
and they knocked them on
I mean,
their ass.
that was the the setup, right?
Yeah,
It's their house, their uh, their nemesis coming in,
yeah.
and they held up.
So they got up off the deck for that. They're starting to get some of these, many injured players back. But I think that the focus of the Yankee fan has now moved more toward Judge and being amazed and slack-jawed by him practically like every night. And that sort of, it's like if he ends up winning the Triple Crown, I almost think that that kind of like excuses the Yankee fan who's like, well, we got this crazy season from Judge, and we lost to the Astros again, or it didn't work out, or we just didn't have the right guys in the bullpen this year, and like it's almost like the excitement about Judge could get the rest of the franchise off the hook. But he's absolutely like he's just completely carried this team. And I just pretty much almost every night, like I bet $5 on him on DraftKings to hit a home run, and like he just comes through more than and then like the nights I forget, like he's in a home run slump. I'm like, oh, he's in a slump. I better put some money on him, and like boom, there it
Double
goes.
it up. Hopefully, Steve Collins doing the same, so he can save up all the dough and bring him over to the other borough.
You can dream. I don't think that's happening.
I don't think it's happening. Actually, Cohen's not even like teased about that or anything too. I think.
Well, he can't, because then it's tampering.
Yeah, it's tampering on stuff, but yeah, I don't think.
So Michelle Mascolo online says the pitchers just lobbed the balls to him, meaning the Babe, not the same speed. Well, so they also weren't providing him the power, right? So
And the
that would be,
ball was like was typically thought of as being more dead too, right?
yeah, he was out of the dead ball era, I would say,
I
for
mean,
that part.
it's
Yeah,
not the dead ball, but like
right,
it's
but it's still tougher,
yeah.
you know.
So it's tough to get that.
Outlawing the spitball, no, not playing against black players, kind of, those are sort of the
Puts and
typical
takes.
arguments,
Yeah.
right? But even the black players argument is, there was a much more reduced amount of, um, overall players in there. There were only 16 teams, so the talent of the pitching staffs was more condensed, comparatively. And then if the black players were in there, sure, you would have had like, other incredible pitchers in there, but the lineups would have been a little bit different. And, you know, who knows, they certainly would have had more teams, right? And I don't know. I mean, if they kept it to 16 teams and never expanded and did that, I think you could sort of make some of those arguments more soundly. Um,
Yeah, it's always tough to do the
yeah,
cross years, right? Especially that far, right? It's like, oh,
yeah,
look at, he's not an athlete, but he's also not getting, the athletic training and the diet and everything else like that all these guys are getting nowadays, and travel so much easier, so much faster, et cetera, et cetera. Put these guys doing double headers all the time after getting off the train, right? It's a
yeah.
little different situations on either side.
And listen, if you wanna do some of the comparisons, just go on Babe Ruth's baseball reference page and go down to the similarity scores, which are one Barry Bonds, two Ted Williams, three Lou Gehrig, four Jimmy Fox, five Willie Mays, six Hank Aaron, seven Mel Ott, eight Frank Robinson, nine A-Rod, and 10 Ken Griffey Jr. So you look at the best seasons that those guys had, and then, compare them up to what Judge is doing, the best of what he's doing. And, you have an interesting comparison. The home runs being where they are that's the thing that really gives Judge, in my opinion, the overall best argument. Because, like you could go to Rogers Hornsby. I mean, the guy hit 400 with power over like a 5-year span in his career, and he was kind of playing the same time that Babe Ruth was, and he's just not talked about as much. So there's a lot of ways to cut it. Historical,
He was talking to the Dawg's 27 strat team.
I know,
Raja.
the Raja,
Raja.
and playing second base while he was doing it. So
Yep.
premium position. So I think there's a lot to be made of it. But we know that we're witnessing something historic, and it's kind of like I think it's kind of almost in a way getting the Yankees off the hook until postseason play starts.
Yeah. Boone still
And
sucks though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. You guys
Free
hate it.
shot, free shot.
All right.
Even
Uh,
even the Diamond
Gold
Dog agrees.
Goldschmidt, Goldschmidt dog. I think he's got a shot at it too. It's just that the batting average I feel like is the thing that's like a little too much out of reach.
He's got two tough guys to chase on too. I mean, you got Freeman who's obviously in the lead right now, and McNeil's a great average hitter. Who's
Yeah.
also kind of hanging there, so he's a tougher guy to have to see sort of dropping off like that. Where like you could see with like a power hitter like a Freeman, yeah, maybe he comes back down a little bit, but a pesky guy like McNeil, it's harder to see both those guys kind of coming down at the same time as Goldschmidt kind of popping up.
Yeah. So that's it. Okay. And the updated numbers, Freeman at this moment is at 329, McNeil's at 323, and Goldschmidt 322. Goldschmidt's, peripheral numbers exceed all those on base slugging. 35 homers and 109 ribbies. So he's right near the top in both. I think he's off by, let's see, I got to, Schwarber has 37 home runs. Austin Riley has 36. Goldschmidt at 35. And on ribbies, Polar Bear Alonso has 110 and Goldschmidt has 109. So it's still within his reach. It would be way cool if they both won the Triple Crown and then played in the World Series. Wouldn't that be cool?
Sort of cool, except my Mets be sitting home. But yes,
Yeah.
that'd be
All right.
as a baseball fan, that would be cool.
You
Yes.
took the bait. You took the bait, and I'm glad that you did. You took the bait, and I'm glad you did.
There you go.
Um, and for doing that, dog, I am going to grant you that the Giants have completed their victory over the Braves. So the Met lead at this moment is safe for the night. Regardless of
Excellent.
what the Mets do, they will enter Thursday, September 15th, in first place. It will either be by a half game or a game and a half.
Let's
So,
uh let's 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 make it a game and a half. Let's stop fooling around.
okay.
Get
And
it in.
dog, you know what? If they both do win the Triple Crown, and they want to get word out about where their celebration is going to be, and they need to do it the old school way, FMSgraphics.com is a family-run, family-owned business for the last 50 plus years, and they can help you with all your premiums and promotions. Your anything printing that you need. Uh, Printing, promotional, you want to put stuff in people's hands, you want to do trade shows, fmsgraphics.com is the way to go. fmsgraphics.com, a family run, family owned business for the last 50 years, and they can help you with all of your printing and promotional needs. I think we got in all the spots, and a big thing in Cardinal Land taking place on this evening, which
How
is
about
the
I got a counter for you on your Triple Crown one, by the way. What if we
oh
what if we do like a Met Triple Crown and we get McNeil and Alonso splitting it, and then Judge doing it for the Yankees, and we could all be together. That I like.
I mean,
Nirvana,
it's
New
it's
York
like
Nirvana.
what is
Um,
this? The Serena Slam or the Tiger Slam? We can't just do the real one, you know?
Oh,
You got pitching triple crowns recently, so
there we go.
that's just as hard to do. Like I don't know why that's not more recognized. Maybe it's not historically. Maybe it's been done more
Yeah.
than batting triple crowns. But um, in St. Louis, when Corbin Burns leads the Brewers into Busch Stadium, he will be facing Adam Wainwright, and Yadier-Molina will be behind the plate. That means this is the 325th uh, start for the battery of Wainwright and Molina, and that has now broken or will break once they do it and the game's official. That will break the major league record of Mickey Lolich and Bill Freehan. Um, that's a pretty amazing record, dog. And
Yeah.
here's why to me. Like this sort of goes with the judge thing, I guess too. These records are much more difficult to break in the modern day, I feel.
Yep.
Especially when we're talking about starting pitchers. And we're talking about them having to deal with the evolution of managers and analytics bringing in things like openers, which we've actually seen many less of. That hasn't been a
Mm,
theme that's been talked about at all this year.
that's a good point.
Openers, like I feel like I never see them really, or teams are rarely using them now.
Yeah.
Um, so for Wainwright to kind of bridge these, these many years with Molina, Molina's now over 40 and Wainwright's pushing it. And they're both still really effective players for a first place team. Like I remember in the offseason when they were both, deciding what they were going to
Yeah,
do
well,
or
they're gonna
if
come
they were
back
going
at
to.
all. Yeah, right.
And I was like, if I'm the Yankees, I would just sign both of those guys. Like, see if they want to do it, I'll be glad to take them. And they've both had, pretty good years. I mean, you see what a good catcher can do if you're a Yankee fan because, getting out from underneath Gary Sanchez and getting the performance that they've gotten from Jose Trevino has made a big difference in what their team has done. He was a key cog in especially when they were winning early. And Molina does that for the staff. Jordan Montgomery said when he came over, he goes, "Well, maybe the biggest difference is throwing to Yadi or Molina." And he wasn't saying that to slight the catchers that he had on the Yankees, but let's face it, he certainly was within his right to do that
It's
for
not
the
wrong.
first 4 years, for the first 4 years of his career when he had, mostly Gary Sanchez back there. But you know, it's the value of a guy like Molina back there. Um, he said that I guess uh, uh, um, he himself has said he was going to retire for this is going to be it. Wainwright, I don't think committed to it. Albert Pujols on that team has said he's going to retire. I mean, have we seen performances like this? From such aging players. Like it just what is in the water in St. Louis? I mean, do we have to start asking some questions that we don't want to ask? Um, is anybody pointing it out? It's the stats are not overwhelming, but the success is.
Yeah, it really is. It is a remarkable time. I mean, just and Pujols. I mean, what a story for baseball too. I mean, frankly, all three of them, right, are great stories to kind of root for and so forth. Which is hard for me as a Met fan. So I still still bitter rivals from the '80s. But yeah, I mean, it's just been remarkable the way they've been able to go out and achieve at such a high level. I mean, it would be great if they would all kind of walk out on a high, and win the division and hopefully bowing out gracefully to the Mets in the second round would be a nice way to kind of go out. But it's remarkable what they've been able to achieve.
Yeah, and that's like I said, I was really enamored by that record. What's kind of funny is I was thinking back to this before when we played last season the Stratomatic Elite Media Experts League. Um, I chose the Cardinals, well, because I had to give way on the Yankees because I'm not, I'm nobody, and Sweeney Murdy is Sweeney Murdy
Pretty
from
murky.
WFAN, so he had to take the Yankees. So I looked around and I'm like, what? Well, let's see. Who do I keep track of? It's not like they're necessarily my second team, but I'm like, you got to kind of respect the Cardinals. I think I think I'll use the Cardinals. And I believe that I had Wainwright and Yadier Molina on my team, and the team was only players from 2000 to 2010 that played for the Cardinals were eligible. So both of those guys were on that team. Um, and here we are. It's freaking 2022, and they're still going. So if you played the next decade, you could have those guys and have some really great years. And I was trying to push Jerry Milani, our pal, into making Stratomatic do it again when one of their new products comes out. I'm like, yeah, we got to run that back. Got to the 10th inning of the seventh game of the World Series with the lead, and Jason Isringhausen couldn't hold it for me. Dustin
Stuffy.
Pedroia hit the two-run homer. Well, hated that guy in real life when he played. Then he had to destroy me in my fake Stratomatic world too. Come on, give me a break.
Living in your dome.
Joe Lemire got the best of me there with the Red Sox. I thought I had him, dog. I thought I had him.
It was a remarkable series.
I know. We were right there. It's a heartbreaker. I want
That's
another
it.
shot. I want another shot.
I got pounded. As usual, the Mets got pounded.
Yeah. Doug, I want another shot, and I want it to be the 1920s when I could use Rogers Hornsby and he can't use Babe Ruth for the Red Sox. That's what I want.
Exactly.
Sweetie Murdy will win that one because he'll have the Yankees, but at least I won't lose to the Red Sox. I'll give him actually, well, the Cardinals did beat the Yankees in the World Series in 26, right?
So,
Or was that the? Oh no, that was the Senators.
I do not know.
Yeah, when Babe Ruth got caught stealing on the last out.
Oops.
Whoops.
Fire Miller.
Just make sure.
Sucks.
I know it was the Cardinals. Why did I doubt myself? It was the Cardinals because it was Pete Alexander came in. The old man came in.
There you
All
go.
right, Dog. Follow the Dog on Twitter at Jeff Healy8. That's the number 8. And you can follow me everywhere on social media at Diamond Diehards. If you like what you've heard, give us 5 stars wherever you can on whatever app it is. If they want you to have stars, then do it. We need it. Write a review if you feel so compelled. God knows you've had enough time while you've been listening to us to just do that.
Long fun.
And of course, hit the subscribe or follow buttons on whatever podcast app you're using, and tell a friend to tell a friend. That is going to do it for the September 14th edition of Diamond Diehards. For the Dog, Jeff Healy. This is Joe Rizzo. Diamond Diehards is out.